The May 24th special school committee meeting to order, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Roll call. Yeah, I don't have a...
Ms. Chisholm.
Here.
Ms. Cormier.
Present.
Ms. Crowley.
Present.
Mr. Lipset.
Present.
Mr. Morenin.
Present.
Dr. Wells.
Here.
Mr. Kissel.
Here. I'd like to get an approval, motion to approve the minutes of the 4/26/23 school committee meeting.
So moved. Second.
First and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any opposed, I should say. All set. All right, tonight, reports, presentations of the superintendent and staff. We do have on the agenda approval of a nurse leader.
Sure.
The superintendent explain that.
As the school committee knows, it's one of the positions that you actually agree to appoint. I'm making the recommendation to move Sarah Lee into this position. And before I do and talk about her, I just want to say thank you to Mary Peter, who's retiring. She's been the nurse leader for the past at least 5 or 6 years, and she guided us through COVID, which is no small feat. And Mary is dedicated, lifelong Woburnite, and I'm really grateful for her partnership during the most trying times in a medical pandemic. And so I wish her well and thank her for her service. And then I would look for the committee to vote to approve Sarah Lee as the next nurse leader. You have her resume in front of you, but for those that don't have a resume, she's a school nurse in the Arlington Public Schools, and she was the Massachusetts School Nurse of the Year in 2022. She has years of experience working in schools. She's currently at Arlington High School. A committee worked to push her forward. I met with her, and I think she's going to be a great fit. So I'm going to answer any questions.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Second?
On the motion?
On the motion, John, Dr. Wells.
Yeah, I know Ms. Cormier served on the committee representing the school committee. Thank you for that. Maybe the superintendent could tell just approximately how many applicants and applied for the position?
I'm gonna defer to Ms. Ryan because she kind of spearheaded. I know that there were multiple applicants, and then I don't know how many, 3?
Sure, we
Four.
interviewed 4
Mm-hmm.
applicants. I believe it was 4.
Okay.
And we had a great pool.
Yep.
And we all felt very strongly that Sarah was a really great fit for our community.
Then it shows, we're taking a nurse that was the nurse of the year, already in a public school system, and for whatever reason, she's decided to come to Woburn, and I think that speaks highly of our school system. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second. More on the motion as well.
I was just curious to hear Ms. Cormier's thoughts because she's both
Yeah.
a public health nut and a nurse, so I was wondering what your
Is that what it says on my LinkedIn? So Ms. Lee was definitely an impressive candidate. So she was heavily involved in a lot of COVID coordination, and she's also pursuing her postmaster's educational leadership license, which I thought was a plus. And of course, school nurse of the year. But just a lot of her interview, she just was very comfortable and clearly cared about, all the scope of public health within the public schools, and is looking to, further her career as the nurse leader from a school nurse.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Cormier. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, any other, Mr. Morenin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I could, the administration, Ms. Ryan, or perhaps Colleen, no internal candidates at all this time?
No, there were not.
Not that I
Okay.
interviewed.
And for those, the people in the audience tonight or those at home, Dr. Crowley perhaps could just give a little description of the nurse leader and the role that they might be playing, or Ms. Ryan could indicate what the role of the nurse leader would be for our district, so those people that aren't aware of the situation and the position.
Sure. The nurse leader, I think it varies depending on whether we're in a pandemic or not. I think that changed it quite a bit. But the role is actually extensive. They work to make sure that all of our buildings have coverage. They work on the screenings, whether it is the vision screenings or the SBIRT screenings. They make sure that we are current with all of the state policies. They apply and help us to execute grants. It's a pretty big job. And again, I think we were really fortunate that we had a great pool and that Sarah has accepted the position.
Thank you for that clarification, I appreciate it.
Excellent. Any other on the motion? Just want to thank Ms. Cormier for serving on that committee and to the staff for getting involved, obviously, as well. And thank you very much. So we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you.
So you'll obviously reach out to her and yes, give her all that info. All righty. All right, so budget updates to the school committee from Mr. Alcanada and Dr. Crowley.
Sure.
As you can see up here, when last we met, you approved a budget for $79,432,098. And I'm just going to go over to this here. So when we came into our May 4th meeting, we were at $78,905,393. The May 4th and May 10th meetings, positions and line items were added back, totaling $526,705, which got us to the $79.4 million, or 7.34%. 2 days ago, and I hope I'm not stealing your thunder, Dr. Wells, but the Finance Committee met and made a recommendation to pull that money, that $526,705 back out of the budget, which would bring us back to the $78,905,393. I listed the cuts here that made up the, or I should say the add backs at this point, to remind the committee of the 500, where we got to the $526,000. I just wanted to make one note of these line items here. The Finance Committee was very specific in wanting to restore the AP testing and draw an additional $40,000 from the energy reserve. So they've essentially swapped those monies. That's why you see that $40,000 there and the restore AP test at zero. It's not that it's going to be zero. It currently is zero in the budget, but it's zero when measured against a
zero cut to it.
Right. So, so that's where we are presently for the school committee to determine.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. You all set?
I'm fine, yeah.
And did you have anything, or that was just what Bob said?
Well, I would just say that the finance subcommittee met, it was Monday, at that meeting, that's when these conversations took place, so just a couple days ago. And so, again, that brings us to tonight, to talk further about the budget.
And do we, because there is no committee reports, are we voting? That was a subcommittee vote.
Right. So do you want me to just update what happened at the subcommittee? I saw Mr. Lipton.
You can.
Yeah, so the subcommittee met, based on the mayor's response to the initial submission and talking to the chair, it was determined that we'd have a subcommittee, and all members of the committee were present, all members of the full committee were present. The subcommittee members are myself, Mr. Lipset, and Ms. Chisholm. We talked about the budget. We talked about, where we're going with the budget. Members expressed, their interests and concerns. Ultimately, subcommittee recommended on a vote of 2-1, Mr. Lipset in opposition to submitting to the full committee the recommendation of $78,905,393, or a 6.63% increase for budget to be submitted to the mayor. And again, we had plenty of discussions about the other money that's outside the budget, and that, money will be there. With the mayor, we discussed that with the mayor, the $600,000 for capital and the $1.8 million, I believe, for the out-of-district costs. And, I should say that a lot of the members spoke up, and we had discussions about, if things change, the mayor is always willing to listen, to the committee if something happens, as has happened in the past, where there's been an influx of students and we need to increase a grade, or something else happens. So, it's the report of the subcommittee.
Okay. So, Mr. Lipset. please.
Just a couple of things. First, to Mr. Alcantara, can you give just a quick sense of the Energy Reserve Fund, what that line is for, and perhaps how much is currently in it, and so why we have, for example, an Energy Reserve Fund?
The Energy Reserve Fund, as we speak, has approximately $900,000 in it. In the past, we have used it to offset the cost of electricity. I believe prior to my tenure, it may have been tapped to replace or repair a generator at this school or one of the schools. So that's primarily what it is used for. We haven't tapped it every year over the past couple of years to offset electricity. So that's what it has primarily been used for. The money goes in there by invoicing the rink next door.
Okay.
And those monies are deposited into the energy reserve.
And that, I'm correct in my assumption that right now our energy needs in terms of the dollar amount have increased rather significantly.
Yes. Our electricity cost for next year are budgeted at $1.7 million. That is $300,000 higher than the current fiscal year FY23. And as you might remember, your budget calls at the moment to take $300,000 from that energy reserve, and now if this were to pass, you'd be taking $340,000 from the energy reserve.
So, with the full acknowledgement that you have no crystal ball and can't see the future, I'm correct in assuming that we have every reason to believe that there could be further increases in our energy costs that perhaps would go beyond what we have currently budgeted.
Yeah, typically utility and energy costs increase, most especially after the last 40 years. They don't often decrease.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to sort of add on to Dr. Wells' description of the meeting, and I think it's worth just sort of clarifying for the public. So the mayor was clear in the finance subcommittee meeting that should the committee advance any budget over his stated figure, the $78,905,393, that overage would be taken from specifically the amount of money that the city has promised for covering projected out-of-district costs, that $1.8 million. That was part of the budget process that allowed us to get closer to this number that the city took on as we were discussing the budget. I mean, I think it's worth the public understanding what it would mean if that is the case, and that's something that is entirely within the mayor's power. That's not something that this body has any, or the city council would have any power to do anything about. I think it's worth the public hearing what the impact might be if we were to go over that number and that money were to be taken from that projected cost. And I am not intelligent enough to give that summary, so I'm hoping that perhaps Ms. Ryan or Dr. Crowley might give a sense of what that would mean. Like if we were to have that line item from the city reduced, what would that do in terms of our own budget, in terms of our own operation?
I can answer that. With the out-of-districts projected, the total amount incorporates what is in the operating budget as well as the $1.8 million. So if you were to use a portion of that money, you would have a significant risk of falling short in covering the out-of-district costs.
And that's money that we are legally required to meet, and so we would have a shortfall during the year were that the case.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, Dr. Wells.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to add a little bit, that 1.8 million, this is the first time we've ever had that done, and it's really an important step forward because we know the out-of-district costs are really fluctuating. We don't know, we set our budget and then they set the increased rates for the institutions that, help our students and so forth. So it's really an important thing to have that 1.8. This is really, a major breakthrough for the committee to get the mayor to recognize that. So I think we want to emphasize that because in the past, that money's been in our budget. This year, we were able to pull it out. And so I think, that's a major accomplishment by the committee to get the recognition of those funds and how difficult it is for the committee to plan for those things because, as I said, the institutions raised their rates after our budget's set. So I just wanted to emphasize that. Thank you.
And I think it's also worth noting that Ms. Ryan was instrumental in,
Yeah, she was,
in making
yep.
sure that that money came
Yep.
into the city budget.
All set? Dr. Wells? You all set?
Well, yeah, I was just going to make a motion that we accept Finance's recommendation to reduce the budget by $526,705 for discussion purposes only.
Second. Okay, so motion, your motion second.
I'll start. So the choice to add positions versus cutting out-of-district placements is not a difficult decision for me. Out-of-district placements are, not to be dramatic, actually truthful, they're life-saving for some children. They are residential treatment programs. I mean, I'm not even, it's not even a difficult decision for me. So to have these children somehow become a political football is not something I'm going to withstand. So I support Finance's recommendation. I think we should cut these positions to save the $1.8 million, which I also agree is a great step forward in terms of public education in Woburn, because symbolically it's this idea that these children this is a cost that is part of running a school system, and it's not just this debate about how much it costs and draining the system and all of that, which we don't have in this table. So I think that it's really important that that remain intact because it's such an important measure. And lastly, this budget is good. It is good the way that it is without the positions. We are providing for ML learners. The administration did a fantastic job at getting this budget to where it is. Our learners are advancing. The district is moving forward, so it is sufficient. So I am in favor of accepting 6.63%.
Ms. Crowley, anybody else? Mrs. Chisholm.
Well, I just want to say, I do want to thank the administration for the amount of hours and days that they've put into this and the fluctuations that we've had. And we don't usually, we haven't every year, but those of us that have sat at this table for a while, but we've asked the administration to come forward to us with almost like their wish list for positions and what they'd like to see, and then they can prioritize it because they're in the schools, they're the ones that are making these decisions, and we're not. I mean, some of these are really hard to cut because people know people, and we know how hard people work, and they care for the community and the school, but we have to trust that this will work. And the mayor has always been helpful to us. I mean, last year he let us add 13 or 19 positions through the course of the year. 17 positions through the course of the year because we needed them. And I'm sure, will make sure that will do the same as he said that he would at our finance meeting if we needed some additional staffing. So I don't want parents to think that the schools are going to go into complete disarray or that kids are not going to get the help and support that they need, because it will happen. But I do want to actually thank the administration. I'm sure that you spent many hours away from your family, and I appreciate it.
All set, Pat?
Yep.
Dr. Wells?
I just want the administration, we're talking about cutting positions, but the administration mentioned yesterday how many new positions we're adding to the budget this year. You could just reiterate.
I think it's 25 new positions are being added in.
Correct.
The majority are grant funded. It's right there. So reading specialists, paraprofessionals, BCBAs, a guidance counselor at the high school, and an administrative assistant. So a total of 25.
And I think and having been at all the meetings on finance along with Mr. Lipset and Ms. Chisholm, we could say, the administration is responding to the change that they presented to us in the school population. And these positions that they're adding are a direct result of that change and trying to meet the needs of our students. So I think they have a vision, and I support their vision.
Mr. Lipset.
Apologize, I wanted to write some thoughts down on this one. The vote before us is the most difficult of my 2 terms on this committee, and given all that this district and public education in general has been through these past few years, I don't grant that title lightly. The reality right now is that there is no real option for this committee. We've grappled with this budget for over 2 full months now, even taking an action that's never been taken under this mayor in returning a budget higher than his recommendation. It was my hope that doing so might either allow the City Council to meet our recommendation through utilization of city funds such as free cash, or prompt a compromise budget with the mayor. Neither of those has occurred. So we're left with a choice that isn't a choice. Adopt this budget tonight or advance one to the City Council that goes over the mayor's recommendation, only to have those costs returned to us through reduction of the city's verbal commitment to projected out-of-district tuition spending. This would result in mid-year shortfalls that would need to be addressed through cuts that could be damaging, especially as we may have additional costs during the year that we can't predict and that we will need the city's assistance with. So I can't in good conscience propose that we do that, even as the choice we have to make here is one that hurts. We're losing dedicated staff who've given their time and love to the Woburn Public Schools, and I don't want to paper over that. I know what goes into this job that we do and how much of ourselves teachers and staff give on a daily basis. I know how much our students depend on the support, the care, and the guidance that they get from these dedicated professionals. These were not administration's choices. They were made when we faced financial decisions that were untenable. To lose those positions when the city has the financial flexibility and resilience to meet those costs angers me. And I know it angers those in our audience and those watching at home as well. While I understand the mayor's reasoning for not using reserve funds to meet these costs, I disagree with it. The continued adherence to one of the absolute lowest tax levels in the state, while the needs of our population, not just our students, but our entire population, grows rapidly, is, in my view, misguided. The decision to respond to a budget that tried to salvage student support positions by promising to reduce city contributions to out-of-district tuition is entirely within the mayor's power, but I think sends a clear message about values to our families. This body doesn't have the power to affect those things, though. All we can do now is consider a budget with the appropriation that we've been given under the constraints that have been described to us. The attention that the community has paid to this budget and the engagement with us over the process has been heated. Heated engagement is better than silence, but we also need more than that. We need constructive engagement. The city and this district has a lot of healing to do from every direction, and this budget has not allowed us to begin that process. I hope we as a committee can build on your advocacy with us. The work we do in this room is not as important or as irreplaceable as the work our teachers, paras, and support staff do every day. But it's the work that the public sees and the work that they can engage with. So I invite you to keep paying attention to what we do and keep demanding better from us and from the city. And if that means anger at our vote tonight or our processes or decisions in arriving at it, I accept that. But I also hope it means a heightened attempt to understand the pressures of our education system. Education everywhere is in crisis right now. And while each fire is different, the way to fight them is the same. Concerted, constructive effort between people who may disagree but are ultimately allies for our schools, for our staff, for our kids, and for our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lipset. Mr. Moran.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think Mr. Lipset stole most of my words, but I, for one, will not be voting in favor of this number. I would love to see the other number be included in our budget and let the cards fall where they may. Understanding the situation, we send it, the council has it, the mayor has it, and to Mr. Lipset's point, and to many people that have corresponded to us, and many of the remarks that we have, many notes, to kind of go through all of that and engage, as Mr. Lipset indicated, engage some of those stakeholders. read through those emails again. Perhaps there is some leeway. Perhaps the city council is thinking of something that we haven't thought of here at this table. Perhaps somebody else has some better ideas. Perhaps the mayor may come to a sensus, perhaps, I hate to say that, but he may, as we asked the other night, meet us halfway, re-engage, re-look at the budget, find different ways. I think it was yesterday or today, Desi decided we can take away our cell phones and get $1 million. I mean, is it crazy? It's $1 million, folks. You know, so again, as I started many weeks ago, thinking outside the box, or trying to come up with something to get these people back to where they belong, to helping our students and our families that could end up in crisis. You're right. There's going to be crisis issues, mental health issues, and other issues that come up from these positions that have been eliminated right there. So I know the factor is of the mayor reducing that $1 million and down the road, how we get that back and how we adjust accordingly. So I just feel as though we can give it a shot, see what happens down the road, and we'll be back at the table again. I understand that. And perhaps, as you know, the administration had to do a couple weeks back to make those major cuts of almost $1 million in a matter of one day, you know, is it time to, I guess, reset, take a breath, and look at all parties, all things involved again, and see if we can get to a better number than, you know, what appears to be presented tonight. So, again, I appreciate everyone's time and effort, and as Mr. Lipset said, this kind of opened everybody's eyes as to the process here in Woburn. As I indicated a while back with the mayor, you know, year in and year out, the kind of budgets throughout the city goes down, the city council gets, the mayor presents it, everybody works their way through it, and the city survives. The city, the number will survive, you know, it'll be difficult, we'll get by, but I think to have the input and the engagement that we've had these many, many months, I think that's encouraging, sitting here tonight, that people want to be heard, they want to be listened, and my final point would be, we've talked and talked and talked. Again, you know, we're putting a new person on, looking at her great resume, looks as though she worked, as we have been trying to do, to move the district forward. To me, by sending this number down and losing out some of these spots, we're not accomplishing the moving the district forward. Reiterating that the administration and those that did this, wonderful, tremendous work, tremendous effort. But me, for one, I would much rather add in that positions that we cut, and I'll take away my soapbox and we'll continue the meeting. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any other comments? Ms. Cormier.
You know, I've said I don't love doing any of this. I understand that we have our administration. It's their job to cover this. It's their job to make this work. And it's hard to have faith when it doesn't work out the way you want it to. Unfortunately, you know, I can't go through and say, well, let's pull this and this and this, because at the end of the day, this is a public document where everybody can see. If somebody else had this great idea of where we could get all this money from, I would love that. But at this time, you know, we're a month late already. And next year, you know, when we lose the ESSER funds, and that's $1.7 million more we're going to lose. The people that I know, you know, and it's not just about the people. Obviously we care about the people, but even the fact of these positions just existing, you know, I feel very strongly that we need them. But I can't, you know, at this point, if we turned it back to the admin and had them, okay, pull something else, I don't even know what they could do. Unfortunately, you know, there's really not much we can do at this point. The mayor was clear that if we give him more than he asked for, then he's going to take it out elsewhere. Like, our hands are tied. And that's just even if we went around him to the city council, he has ways to, he could say $0 to out of district if he really wanted to, not to give them ideas. So, you know, I don't want to vote in favor of this because that's just how I feel about it, but I know at the end of the day it's going to pass, and we have to just unfortunately live with it. I'm hoping that maybe with the new positions that are up, maybe some of these people can land within the system if they want to still, if they're not, you know, so disheartened by losing their jobs that they will consider continuing to work with us. But that is my hope, that at least there's somewhere that everybody can still be part of the district if they want to. Thank you.
Dr. Wells?
Yeah, just one final, because, as being on the finance chair and all the finance meetings, I just want to reemphasize that, we have to think about the entire budget, because it was a package that was negotiated with by the mayor, the administration, the chair. It's that 9.06% increase overall we're getting with that 1.8 and the 600,000. So all of that was, we submitted down for capital about $1 million. Then he told us this is what we can work with. So ultimately, after the negotiations, what we got is a 9.06% in revenue, in money going to the school department, which I think is an excellent step forward. I think the administration did a great job outlining, Ms. Ryan, I want to congratulate her. She's done what nobody else could do, and my 20-plus years on the school committee show the need to move that money outside the budget. So I just want to reemphasize the job the administration did in getting us to this figure. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? I just wanted to make a couple of comments, and I do, correspondence is like 2 spots away, but I want to kind of comment on them because we're going to take a vote. Did get a lot of emails, obviously, and I've said it in the past.
Chris, you really have to move the chair.
You have to pass the gavel.
Pass the gavel.
Oh, you said you were going to make comments about...
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to just,
Okay.
thank you. So, got a lot of emails, and I just wanted to thank people for that, and it is in correspondence, but it's not, looks like it's going to be after the vote. So there were a few that, commented on the budget, on different positions and so on. So they are, and I've said it before, they're all electronically on file, they're all on record. It really is probably too many at this point to read them, and they're much longer. But they are all electronically on file. We have spread them to the school committee to read prior to making decisions on Monday. We got a lot of emails, so I just wanted to kind of comment on that part that we have gotten. So, is that good? Good enough? All right. So, just wanted to mention that because that's after. So we have one last point was, again, kind of to everyone's talking, was Monday when Scott was here, I did ask him point blank, I think what we've all kind of touched upon, and that is if if we come up with anything higher and we send it down, will we have...
This is the comment part, Mr. Chairman. I think you have to pass the gavel.
There you go. There you go, Mike.
Recognize Mr. Kissel on the budget, on the motion, Mr. Kissel.
Excellent. So Scott was here the other night and indicated with a question from me that if we did present a higher number, would he cut those, or would he keep the 1.8 and the 6? And I indicated that originally it was a little over $1 million for capital, which we do need. I mean, there are things that need to get done that are just going to, in a sense, fall apart if we don't have that. So it was dropped from a little over $1 million to $600,000. And when I asked him point blank, could he negotiate with us? Is there something we could, split the difference, which I heard tonight, anything like that? And it was pretty much a no. I mean, there was no movement at all. Then the question was, if we do present something, he has, if I'm reading it right, the ability to just deduct from that 1.8, which is something said tonight we obviously need, and also the 600,000 potentially could be cut, which means possibly no capital money to do any of the projects we want. So having said that, the answer is straight out no. Then I would definitely cut into that. Those are my numbers I can work with, the 2.4 million. So, just wanted to preface the voting, which is going to happen, with my comments as well. So, I don't want to see the 1.8 cut. We need that. Obviously, it's only going to be somewhere in the mid-year. We'd be looking for that money at that point, if and when that number comes through, and the capital. I think it's something we need. So, that's all I have. That's my little comment.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, there you go.
There you go. Excellent. All right, so we have a motion. We have a second. So this is to, just so we get it right, what it's for. What was the motion, one more time? Just kind of say it again. It's been a while.
It was my motion.
$78,905,000.
My motion was to send the fiscal year '24 budget as $79,433,000.
$78,905,000.
Have you the number?
Need this cheat sheet?
Fiscal year '24, $78,905,393 at 6.63% over fiscal year '23.
Correct.
So we had a motion.
Second.
We had a second. And do I think we're going to need a roll call. No, all right, do we have a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nope.
So 2 noes. Do we want a roll call at this point?
Sure.
All right, let's do a roll call if we could.
Ms. Chisholm.
Yes.
Ms. Cormier.
No.
Ms. Crowley.
Yes.
Mr. Lipset.
Yes.
Mr. Morenon.
No.
Dr. Wells.
Yes.
Mr. Kissel.
Yes. So it is a 5-2, so we will be sending down the 6.63, $78,905,393 at 6.63% to the mayor, city hall, whatever.
Finally.
Is that it? Any opposed? Oh, I got the opposed, that's right, I'm sorry. All right, so on the correspondence, I did mention that. Does anyone else have any other correspondence they want to talk about, or
Memorial Day Parade.
Yep.
Memorial Day, yep.
Graduation?
Graduation is this
Following
following
Friday.
Friday.
Friday, 6 p.m.
Friday, 6 p.m., the 3rd, right? The 2nd, 3rd.
Scholarship night.
Scholarship up night is May 31st.
Wednesday night, Thursday, 31.
Busy week next week.
And what else?
And the public hearing, do we know the date for sure? I know it was mentioned several times, but
It's being presented tomorrow by the mayor. The
Correct.
full city budget is being presented tomorrow, the 25th, at what time?
7?
6 p.m.
6 p.m.
Okay.
Recognized, by the way, Mr. Concanon and Mr. Viola.
Yep.
And I don't know if there's anyone else over there. No? Okay. So they are here. So if they've indicated tomorrow, the mayor will be presenting the budget, the full city budget, at 6 p.m., which includes our budget, of course, to the city council. It's also prom.
I think we have a date for the public hearing for the city council. did we
Yeah,
not?
so public hearing was on
12th, Mike? He's checking.
public hearing 12th. So June 12th, that's a Monday. Public hearing. So, those are our things. All right, so that's correspondence. Is there anything else in correspondence?
I'll make a motion, we go into executive sessions to.
Yeah, well, there's what, just to have to say, future agenda items? It's on there, so I wanted to just finish
no.
No other future agenda items right now. We will be going into executive session for the purpose of,
I'll make a motion to go into executive session to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions on contract negotiations with non-union personnel, and to discuss strategies with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have detrimental effects on the bargaining or litigating positions of the public body. And the chair.
yes.
Second.
We got a motion second. We need a roll call for that one?
Yes.
Yes.
Roll call.
Ms. Chisholm.
Yes.
Ms. Cormier.
Yes.
Ms. Crowley.
Yes.
Mr. Lipset.
Yes.
Mr. Morenon.
Favor?
Dr.
Yes.
Wells.
Yes.
Mr. Kissel.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much.